as recently as even a decade ago, the scientific sort of accepted doctrine was that you're born, you live, you die. It's inevitable. More and more, the doctrine is becoming aging as a disease state. It's a disease state controlled by, a variety of variables, roughly 12 main variables. And if you can address all of those variables in the right way, you can solve the disease of dying, of aging. And so there are all kinds of things out there, massive exponential advances in anti-aging science. And there are many that believe at some point we will be able to cure aging. And so I don't know if it'll happen today, if it'll happen in a year, if it'll happen in a decade. And I guess that's ultimately the point of freezing your body. If you can hang on long enough, you'll eventually hit that inflection point where aging is no longer inevitable. But we do think that the things that we do at Restore are moving people down a path of increased health span and by extension increased lifespan. So health span is the number of years you live and can do what you want to do. Lifespan is the number of years you actually live. In the U.S., the average lifespan is 79. The average health span is 63. So that equation tells you that people have 16 pretty shitty years of living on average in the U.S. And so what we're doing at Restore has a lot of benefits, a lot of short-term benefits, certainly around pain and inflammation reduction. But ultimately, if you over time continue to address the things that cause aging, you can push that out theoretically quite a bit. And so there are books like Lifespan by Dr. David Sinclair, and Dave Asprey's written some things like Superhuman.
I have his book, and I'm familiar with David Sinclair as well. Are you familiar with Aubrey de Grey?
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, he's a local Austin guy.
Yeah, if he was the first person that he's local.
I thought he was.
I don't know. I don't know where he's from. I had no idea, but that'd be interesting if he was. He was the first guy I saw. I signed up for a newsletter years and years ago. He was the first guy that I saw pitch the concept of like aging is a disease.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's very controversial. I bet some people disagree with that. But when I looked at the arguments made on paper, I mean, it sounds a lot like a disease, really.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we spend a lot of money on curing cancer, curing heart disease, curing all that. What we really should be curing is aging, because those diseases are a manifestation of aging. So as your body gets older, you get replication errors in DNA and you start to go down a path. If you can sort of divert off of that path, you actually would solve all those other diseases as well. So that, we fundamentally believe that we can make a big difference in that area. We haven't gotten all the answers, but we do know some of the answers. We do know, I think it's become accepted doctrine that intermittent fasting is a better approach to dieting, and it potentially prolongs your life. Cold therapy, heat therapy, the type of exercise you do. I mean, I could go on these the micronutrients that you have in your body. I mean, all of these things are contributing factors. Some of them are actually quite easy to incorporate into your everyday life. So why not? That's kind of the $1 million question.
How do you feel about how much genetics play a factor as opposed to, I agree with all these things you're talking about, and I think that everyone should practice them, and I think there's a lot of solid research there. Some people would say that our genes are more of a fact, like you can do all this stuff, but at the end of the day, like your genes are probably going to determine, and I'm not saying this is correct, I'm just saying some people say this, your genes are going to determine for the most part how long you're going to live. Would you say that's not true?
I don't know. I don't want to get into too scientific a discussion, but I would say your genes probably tell you what sense of urgency you should have to start addressing things like aging. So if you've got better genetics and your family tends to live longer and have fewer problems, I'd say you maybe have a little more time and a little more sort of flexibility around how urgent you treat things. If you're in a family like mine where I have poor genetics, lots of heart disease, lots of, what you would consider early death, aunts, uncles, grandfathers dying in their 50s and 60s and that sort of thing. It's probably a little more like, oh shit, I'm 52. I better be on the right path. But sort of the underlying causes of aging, the underlying causes of disease are the same no matter your genetics. And so I still think that addressing those underlying causes is the same for everybody. Like I said, for me, it's just a sort of a sense of urgency and if you know you have bad, I'm constantly astounded by people that know they should do something and they don't do it. And part of the problem is that it's something that you have to do today to maybe affect something 20, 30, 40 years later. That's not a construct that humans respond well to.
Yeah, we're not good at delayed reward.
We're not. That's right.